I've swapped the chilly February sunshine of the UK for a 5,500-mile trip and a 2-week excursion on the fantastic lush island of Sri Lanka, supplied by Explore, the adventure travel people. Explore organise everything on their Buddha's Island trip, from flights and transfers, hotel accommodation, visits to numerous World Heritage sites, excursions and the services of a dedicated driver and knowledgeable tour leader to guide you through this amazing 2-week experience. With such a lot of ground to cover, I really wanted to take a fast and agile camera with no sacrifice on quality, not just for video but high quality stills as well. What a dilemma! After much soul searching, I found it impossible to choose between 3 cameras. My trusty Nikon D800, great for stills and well respected for video. The bridge style Sony DSC RX10 Mark II, and the newest of the bunch, the compact Micro Four Thirds Panasonic G80. With an abundance of light, Sri Lanka is a lush and verdant wonderland of photographic opportunities. I've condensed 2 weeks down to 3 minutes and captioned each shot with the corresponding camera used, and at the end I'll talk about the pros and cons of each one and reveal the overall winner. Thanks very much for watching that video. Hopefully that's given you a few pointers about what each camera is capable of. Maybe through YouTube you don't see the fine detail, so happy to answer any questions if you want to leave me any questions on the any particular aspect of the 3 cameras. Please feel free in the comments box. And really the next few minutes is just me telling you what I liked about each particular camera and the reason for taking it. Now, the Nikon. Let's talk about this Nikon. Great for stills, the D800. It weighs an absolute ton. So if you're trying to do video in a situation where you don't have time to put down a tripod, then it isn't the most. I did take a monopod with me, by the way, for the safari. also got some fantastic stills of birds. An eagle was about 10 feet away from me. He was just, you know, didn't have a care, just looking at me like I was dinner. But this, as I say, this camera, fantastic for stills. I'm so glad I took it for that reason. But for video in a sort of run and gun situation, it wasn't at all feasible. Any length of time holding the camera still for video, and after a while your arms would just shake. After a while it just became just too heavy. Even if you put the 35mm lens on it, which is currently recording this video, it's just not a contender for video. I mean, there are, I think, no videos in the actual shot list that you've just seen. So, you know, I'm going to have to put that one aside for the time being and say great for stills, and that's it. Now, if we move on up, then we get to the Sony. So the Sony DSC RX10 Mark II, they've just come out with a Mark III, which has got a longer reach on the zoom, but I don't think there are too many differences in the spec of both cameras. They both have the same slow motion recording, and really the reason why I took this camera was for the slow motion. It's marvelous. It really is marvelous in such a compact form. It's got a tilting screen. You can't control the camera from the screen, but it is still quite useful to have. It's got a 1-inch sensor, Carl Zeiss 2.8 lens all the way through from roughly 80 to 200. And it's a great camera. It's great for slow motion. When you go to slow motion, you have to press HFR on the mode dial. You have to then prime the camera and then hit record. Now, when you hit record, you're either hitting the end frame or the beginning frame, according to how you've set it up in the menu. If you're recording for something like 3 seconds, you end up with 9 seconds of footage, or longer if you go on to the 500 frames per second. 500 frames isn't HD, so it wasn't useful for me. 250 frames is HD, and I found that great. Sri-Lanka's got loads of light. Consider that, because you're cutting down the available light on the sensor by 4 times. So I was still able to shoot at something like f8 in that country because of the abundant light. And when you think about that place, it is quite mystical. It does have, you know, there were joysticks, and there were Buddhist monks, and I wanted that slow motion because I saw the possibility of using it with the kind of environment I was in, the light, the people, and the mystical side of things. Right, finally onto my last camera, and this is the Panasonic GX80, which is referred to as the Panasonic GX85 in some countries. I want to say that this is a little beauty of a camera. It's really weird just holding it because you can hear the sensor moving inside. When the camera isn't turned on, you've got a floating sensor inside. And it was that floating sensor that actually really attracted me, and the form factor, because of its lightweight nature. I really wanted a sort of like camera, I called it my on-the-move camera. So I was able to walk around with this camera, and in some of the shots it looks like I've got glide cam or steady cam. I didn't have a autofocus lens, so I was using manual focus lenses, especially like this Speedmaster, which is a Chinese lens. It's a 24mm lens, and it goes down to f1. It's a beauty. It's an absolute beauty. Pair that lens with this camera, and I call it my little Leica. It really is sensational. The quality on some of the 4K footage from something like this, it's like looking through glass in some respects. Now, if I had to choose between all 3 cameras, if someone said, you've only got to take one, what is it? And I am going on another trip soon to South America, which should be fun. I'm going to take this camera because I was most impressed with the picture quality. It was the picture quality of this. I bought 2 lenses for the trip. One was a Samyang 12mm, which was great for wide angle stuff, but I was still able to, as I say, just hold the camera, no Steadicam, no glide cam, and use this 24mm lens, roughly equivalent to 15mm, and just I've got great stills with this camera, as providing they don't need to be blown up. I got great depth of field. I got fast focusing. I could just pinch the screen if I wanted to, and zoom in really quickly, set my focus, and using, it's got something like the blue sort of outline thing that you get on the Sonys, and it was great. It was absolutely great. And as I say, the picture quality for me beat both of the other cameras. Now, when I do go on my next trip, I'm going to partner it with the GH5. And the reason I'm going to do that is because the GH5 has got slow motion. I really do want that slow motion. So having this, the same lenses that I can take, and the GH5, I think is going to be my absolute ideal companion. If I push myself, then I might take the Nikon, because I'm going to want that stills quality, but we'll see. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. As I say, if you want to leave any questions or any comments in the comments box, please do. I love debate. I love talking cameras, as you can tell, and I'll try and help out if you've got any questions. Otherwise, you can hit the subscribe button. There'll be more videos coming down the line. Thanks for watching, and I hope you've got something useful out of this video. Cheers.